Yes, we all did it. Well, at least most of us have. And that is sneaking into the movies. Today, I want to talk about the first experiences I ever had as a kid sneaking into my first horror movies. And three movies in particular. It was the year 2004. I was like 12 years old, and I snuck into three movies that year. And they were none other than the original Saw. And then we have The Grudge. And then the abysmal, probably the most anticipated movie out of the three for me at the time, was Seed of Chucky. Yes, Seed of Chucky was my first theatrical and only theatrical experience when it came to Brad Dourif's Chucky. And it was a sad, sad day. It really, really was. But at the time, I was in like the 6th grade, something like that, and me and a buddy, I went with the same friend to see all three of these movies, and at the time, I really only knew much about only one of the movies, only Seed of Chucky. Because, I grew up watching the Child's Play franchise and, being a big, avid Chucky fan, I was pumped and excited for Seed of Chucky, not knowing what the hell we were going to get. I didn't have access to the internet back then, and social media and all that wasn't around. Everything was in its infancy still, and, I didn't know what kind of can of worms I was opening. I just thought it was cool because I frickin' bought tickets to one movie and then walked out of the theater and went to go see another, because all the people working at that theater were idiots and didn't care. And, when it came to Seed of Chucky, I remember, at that time I had avidly watched the first three Child's Play films over and over and over and over again as a kid, and was along with Bride of Chucky, and I was just like, oh boy, what do we got? I don't remember the marketing too much, but I just still remember like it was yesterday, being so disappointed and just like, what the hell am I watching? Chucky's offspring, Glenn/Glenda, the whole crap with the dolls being, in Hollywood with the film, and Jennifer Tilly being Jennifer Tilly, and not necessarily just Tiffany, and it was such a departure from what it was. I mean, Bride of Chucky was a pretty good mix of the horror and comedy, and it was just about as far as I wanted it to go. I think of it like kind of like Elm Street 4 and 5, more or less. Elm Street 4 was as far as I wanted to see Freddy go when it came to the comedic side, and then 5 just went even farther, and then Freddy's dead. Oh my god, it was just an abomination. But just there's a reason. There's a lot of reasons why I haven't watched Seed of Chucky in at least 15 years. I've given it multiple chances, especially when it first came out. I rented it from Blockbuster. I gave it a second shot, and I said, I gotta just analyze this from a different lens. Was I too strict, or was I distracted by my friend? Was I nervous thinking I was gonna get caught in the theater? No, it wasn't that. It was just a pile of crap. I mean, a lot of people don't like that movie. A lot of people do have Seed of Chucky at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to the Child's Play franchise, and it is for me. And there's a reason why Curse of Chucky and Cult of Chucky went straight to VOD. Because of what Don Mancini did with Child's Play and how people reacted to it, and it was just poorly executed, and it was just an abysmal theater-going experience. And then we had the original Saw. Now, I've made it clear in the past that I'm not the biggest franchise overall when it comes to Saw. I'm not the biggest fan of the franchise as a whole. I really enjoy the first Saw movie. Saw 2, Saw 3, pretty good. Saw X was all right. I didn't see that in the theater. I've only seen the first three Saw movies in the theater. Out of the 10, I've only seen the first three. I think that's just because of how I felt growing up, especially as a teenager. I just didn't become emotionally attached to the franchise because of the kind of movie what it is and it became, and it didn't really grasp me. But this guy James Wan comes out of nowhere and makes this movie called Saw, and I'm like, ooh, a horror movie. Let's go see it. And me and my old friend Chris, if you're watching this, hey, how you doing? We went and saw Saw. It, the way that movie was executed, it was just I felt like I was watching like The Last House on the Left, you know, or maybe not like that, but it felt like that, but in modern times, or something along those lines. And I don't know if it was my age or my what I was really interested in, because I'm primarily a slasher guy, and Saw certainly isn't a slasher movie, but like the Jigsaw's traps and the way that's all been portrayed throughout the series. It's very, very interesting, and I've wondered what it would have been like if James Wan stayed with Saw like the whole way through, not just for the first two films, but like if, let's say, James Wan has directed every Saw movie. I wonder what the franchise would have became. I can say the same thing about Insidious. I could say the same thing about The Conjuring. He's a very, very talented man. It could have been interesting, but really, when it comes to my memories for Saw in the theater, it was more or less just a good, fun time seeing a horror movie with a friend. Nothing really epic, and nothing really that really left a stamp on my heart and my emotions. It just was another fun time. Killed a couple hours and it was fun. Like I said, I think that's the reason why I'm not is deeply rooted into the Saw franchise, is because of, that first film didn't really hit as hard as others did for me. And then last but certainly not least, we have The Grudge from 2004. Now, I went and saw The Grudge for one reason and one reason only, and that was to see Buffy. I wanted to see Sarah Michelle Gellar on the big screen. I was excited. I didn't know anything about The Grudge. I didn't know that it was a Japanese adaptation, and I didn't know the first thing about it. I said, "Ooh, I wanted to go see Buffy the Vampire Slayer on the big screen." I was a hungry 12-year-old little boy who was crushing hard on her and thought it would be fun. And like I said, I went with the same friend. I went with Chris, and we went and snuck into The Grudge. I can't remember what, when it came to all three of these movies, I cannot remember what tickets we bought like a movie to and then snuck into the others. I don't remember that off the top of my head, but I do remember we went to, the Eastfield Mall in Springfield, Massachusetts. We went to that theater that has been most recently torn down. A childhood pillar memories of seeing so many horror movies throughout my teenage years in that theater. But it'd be kind of funny to remember what movies we initially bought the tickets to, and then we snuck in to see those other three horror movies instead. But The Grudge, once again, it hasn't really left a real good staple in my memories. It was nothing too fancy. I just was like, ooh, I was enamored with Buffy the Vampire Slayer being one of my favorite TV shows of all time, and I just wanted to go see a horror movie with a familiar face. And it wasn't until I got a little older, the following year, in 2005, that I started seeing movies that I really have fond memories of. So I'm going to probably get into that next. I want to talk about the years 2005 through 2007, because I think it was after Rob Zombie's Halloween. I didn't really have to sneak into anything. I just bought a ticket, and I bought that I was 17, 18. I had a beard when I was like 15, for God's sakes. I started shaving when I was 10. I could sell it like it was nothing, but when I was 12 years old, I thought it was cool to sneak into a theater. But by the time I was 14, 15, 16, I didn't need to do that. It wasn't a big deal. I just casually went and bought a ticket and saw movies, basically, yeah, from 2004 through 2007, let's say. So there were quite a few movies in that remake boom of the 2000s that I did go and see theatrically that I want to talk about and see what kind of memories and the recollections that I have now of what it was like as a teenager compared to how I feel about them now. But it what you know what made 2004 different is because it was like the first time I went without my brother. My older brother, from the years 2002 through 2003, he took me to see Halloween Resurrection. That was just disaster for both of us. We went and saw Freddy versus Jason together. We went and saw the Texas Chainsaw remake in '03 together. Just some fun ride. And then getting to do it on my own was kind of cool. You know what I mean? I remember getting to tell my brother that we went and saw The Grudge and Seed of Chucky, and I remember telling him how pissed off I was and that I thought Saw was pretty cool. But you know, I don't know if it would have been different now, like 20 years, 21 years later, if it would have been different if I was a kid now going to see movies like, I don't know, Longlegs or Alien Romulus or Abigail from this past year. If I went and saw those movies as a kid, if I'd have better memories of those, I'm not sure. But if you guys had any horror movies in particular that you snuck into the theater as a kid and you thought it was cool back in the day, let me know down in the comments below, and we'll see. You never know. It'd be kind of interesting because we're all different ages here and different interests, and I did think it was cool back in the day to do that. And then I did have some hits and some misses, so you never know. Like and subscribe if you like what you see. If you hit that notification bell, you'll always see what kind of videos I have coming up next. So until next time, you take it easy. We'll see you soon.